Thanks everyone for attending. My name's Josh Henry. I'm a technical account manager here at AWS. I'm also a part of the resilience technical field community. So a lot of what I do in the background, in addition to TAM stuff, is helping customers with their resilience improvement on AWS. So today we'll be talking about the current landscape of resilience within organizations, as well as some challenges around improving resilience, and some steps that you can take as your own organization, as customers of AWS, to help improve, and programs that are available to you through enterprise support. So getting into the current state of organizational resilience, we really see in a recent survey from around 2,100 industry leaders across 7 industries that only about 20% of organizations have what they would consider an advanced resiliency posture. This really feeds into a lack of resilience awareness among organizations. Many are ill prepared to face challenges posed by current disruptive events, hindering their ability to maintain critical workloads and operations. The nature of these outages and the impacts on workloads are constantly evolving. Traditional resilience solutions might not be sufficient to sustain modern outages, which can affect and have far-reaching consequences for sectors and industries. We can see here on this slide, just from a provider standpoint over the last few years, the vast number of outages that have occurred. And it is only a matter of time before we see a similar outage in the future or a similar event in the future. And so it's really imperative for organizations to reassess their resilience strategies, their resilience models, and adopt a more proactive approach. Failure to do so could have significant impact to financials, reputation loss, and disruptions to essential services. So that's really what we're going to dive into today. And looking at the impact of failures, what does that really look like for individual organizations? We typically see a direct correlation between the length of an outage or the frequency of an outage and the overall impact to organizations themselves, whether that's downstream customers being impacted, not being able to access resources or programs, revenue loss, where for the top Fortune 1000 companies, we're seeing an average downtime cost of $100,000 per hour for outages, whether those are planned or unplanned. And then reputational loss. It can take months or even years to recover from the loss of reputation if your organization has been hit by frequent outages or if you're slow to repair and recover from an impact. And looking at Forrester survey of the top 3 impacts for outages for customers, 53% is loss of revenue, 47% see a loss of productivity with their teams that are trying to, they spend all that time trying to bring things back online and figure out what happened. And then 41% are seeing a loss of trust to their downstream customers as a major impact. So what do we do moving forward? As in the words of our CTO, Werner Vogels, everything fails all the time. So sort of redoing your thought process and to anticipate and embrace resilience and preparedness as part of the natural occurrence of what will happen, trying to expect the unexpected for failures, build those into your systems, including those that are running on AWS. And one of the key takeaways is that resilience is not just a one and done, hey, we took care of our workload and so it's resilient now. It's more of a continuous improvement journey. So I'm sure a lot of folks have seen the shared responsibility model before. I'll cover real quick in the terms of resilience. For the AWS perspective, we are responsible for making sure that the infrastructure of the cloud itself, the managed and unmanaged services, the infrastructure is available to you as our customers as much as possible. But what we have seen with some customers is some assumption that, oh, I'm running my workload on a resilient cloud, so my workload is automatically resilient. That may not necessarily be the case. So the customer side of the responsibility model really comes into play of how that workload architecture is designed, what your change management, your operational management processes look like, what tools you're using to observe your workloads, alert on failures, how you manage failures and incident management, and then your networking security and other constraints that are responsible by the customer as well. So what are some challenges that we typically see across industries? You may have an issue where resilience is not seen as something that benefits the business immediately. It may be seen as more of a cost center versus a value add. You could have limited visibility into your workload, where maybe you don't have the correct observability in place, or maybe you are missing some key components for individual pieces of your workload that you don't have visibility to. It could be that a traditional one and done approach was done, where it was resilient when the workload was deployed, but the workload's evolved over time, where it has either had scope creep or additional dependencies have been brought in, additional services have been used, and so no one has kept up with the documentation, no one has kept up with the processes to make sure that all those individual components are resilient. You could have difficulty in identifying and isolating faults where it either takes too long or you don't have the right tool sets within your operational teams to understand how to properly isolate faults and bring things back online. And you could have internal and external factors where you are relying on a third-party service that you don't have control over. And then last but not least, the inability to measure the effectiveness of a resilient strategy. Knowing what KPIs to look at, making sure that you're testing the resilience of your workloads in production so that you fully understand when any kind of event occurs, you've planned for it, and you know that your DR strategy, your failover strategies actually work. So what are some steps involved in the resilience journey? As I stated before, it is a continuous improvement journey or process. It's not just a one and done. Today, we'll dive a little bit deeper into step 1 and 2 here, and then we'll also cover how your TAM can help you and the programs that are available to you that you are entitled to as enterprise support customers within AWS that can help you do the following steps. But really getting the first 2 steps out of the way is a great way to get started in your resilience improvement. Going to step 1, profiling your critical workloads. It may seem daunting at first. You may have some assumptions that this has already been documented somewhere, but in this example spreadsheet, you can work with your TAM, you can work with members of my team and the resilience field community to kind of walk through what workloads are critical to your business, what is the line of business that is associated with, what is the workload type, what is a good description of what it is and what the point of the application is, how critical it is to your business, whether that's operationally, it needs to be running in order to just keep the doors open. It could be financial impact, where this is your money-making application. What AWS accounts are being used for it, whether everything is isolated into a single account, if there's multiple accounts with multiple dependencies where you need to worry about security in between accounts, which services are used, having a good documentation of all the services that are involved with a particular workload that's critical to you. We've seen everything from simple applications that are just EC2 and some S3 to applications that use dozens of different services at AWS, and they all interconnect in certain ways, and they're all critical to the workload as a whole. So having that documented is extremely important. And then looking at the resilience structure of the application as it is today, is it sitting in multiple availability zones? If not, was that by design? Does it need to be in more than one region? What is the current region that the workload is in? If it does need to serve more than one region, what is the resilience posture for that? Does it need to be active, or you're serving multiple regions at the same time? Is it only for like an active standby or a warm standby? And then what is your disaster recovery structure look like? What are your recovery point objectives for what is acceptable data loss, what's your recovery time objectives for how quickly this workload needs to be brought back online. We need to have those kinds of information so we can help you to design against your targets and bring things back online in a as quick a manner as possible. Going on to step two. So now that you have your critical workloads documented, you have hopefully your RPO and RTO requirements in hand, you can go into AWS itself and into Resilience Hub, which is an existing service available to customers today, where you can input you can define the RTO and RPO goals for a particular application. You put that into a resilience policy, and there are a number of disruption types that you can choose to capture within Resilience Hub, which includes application disruption, our infrastructure disruption, availability zone, and even region disruption. Resilience will then take that resilience policy, run an assessment against your workload based on the resources that you're using, and then it will provide architectural improvement recommendations, as well as operational item improvements, including standard operating procedures through Systems Manager, additional CloudWatch alarms and metrics to gather, and systems to deploy to improve the resilience of your application. It also integrates with AWS Fault Injection service, so you can do chaos engineering based on custom templates that Resilience Hub can generate for you. The operational items specifically are important because they really get to the point where you understand and have tested your application against real world scenarios, and you can understand what mechanisms you have in place to monitor and recover your workload in the case of an event. And it provides a comprehensive view of your overall application portfolio, the resilience status, and a set of dashboards so you can see a central dashboard with your various applications and their resilience status. We also offer not only graphical AWS console access to this tool, but you can also integrate it into your CI/CD pipelines through API. So you can automatically run resilience assessments in your existing pipelines so your development teams can fail fast, understand quickly if a change will negatively impact an application's resilience posture, and then the pipeline can stop that deployment before it goes on to like your staging or your production environment until you've had a chance to actually address those resilience issues and improve upon them. It also provides a resilience score, so you can have a decent idea of kind of where your applications are sitting in their resilience posture and where you need to dive in to improve. And of course, there is an audit trail, so you can have that audit trail for compliance reasons as well. So how can your TAM assist you in delivering this? Part of enterprise support is you have a TAM who's assigned to you, and that TAM is really your partner to provide best practice guidance, do deep dives on services, provide hands-on experience for your teams with game days, workshops, demos, immersion days. They are there to be your advocate to AWS as a whole, and they're there to represent your interests, right? The TAM is there to make sure that we are in line from an AWS perspective with what your business objectives are. They are there to help guide and drive resilience engagements with subject matter experts. They are there to bring the experts in to help collaborate on timelines, on progress, on calendar events and invites. They are there to keep you and your leadership updated via regular strategic business reviews. And your TAM is there to partner with you, again, to align on your business goals, what your desired outcomes are, and align them with our plan through strategic support planning. And they are there to also provide access to proactive services and engagements for resilience itself. And they make use of Trusted Advisor Priority to identify risks to your workloads and help you to resolve those risks and keep track of them over time as well. So getting into some of the resilience entitlements for enterprise support customers. This is a big list. I'll try to go through it as quick as I can. Um, we'll start with simulated conditions response and management, or SCRAM, which is a tabletop exercise for a specific workload to enhance its readiness and handle a specific scenario. It starts with a pre-engagement questionnaire where you provide details about your workload and select the type of scenario that you want to simulate from a catalog. And that catalog is always being expanded. The Scram team then works with that information to customize a tabletop scenario, to do a incident simulation with you. They run the scenario with you and then provide a report afterwards that you can integrate into your existing run books and playbooks to help plan for real world events. The next is driving resilience, planning, execution, and testing, or Dr. PET, which is a subject matter expert facilitated engagement for a production workload or an existing workload that reviews your resilience readiness requirements. It provides proactive guidance to help you address any resilience gaps. And it works in close partnership with our solutions architects, our service teams, and the resilience technical field community itself to provide definitive outcomes for you for each stage of your resilience journey. And customers who have onboarded Dr. Pet have reported significant benefits from going through that engagement process. And it is broken down into a few sessions. So there's a discovery session where we understand and identify your most critical workloads. Then that's followed by deep dive sessions with subject matter experts to help you build and improve playbooks for those workloads. And then we also support testing and validation of your playbooks. And we can do that on a repeat cycle on a regular basis with you as well. The next is incident management tabletop exercise. So again, this is a tabletop exercise similar to Scram, but it's more focused on your incident management scenarios. So it really gives your teams hands-on skill practice for incident response, so they can strengthen and sharpen their skills and be ready for any incident that might occur in your production. Then we have Resilience Application Readiness Assessment, or RA2, which provides AWS customers with a comprehensive technical and operational assessment of their resilience posture of critical workloads. It can be done on an existing workload or on a new workload. So for those on an existing workload, it really helps you understand the current posture, what the resiliency risk is. And then for new workloads that are being deployed, we can preemptively work with you to better understand what the resilience posture is of that planned deployment, so you can have a better understanding of what changes might need to be made. Next is the Resilience Health Report, which is a mechanism that really provides customers a set of critical risks for a particular workload. It provides it in a consolidated list of risks categorized by criticality, so high, medium, low, in a more human readable, consumable format. So you can take that to your leadership or director level and have them understand, like, hey, here's kind of where we are with our current resilience posture for this workload. And last but not least, there is AWS Managed Services IDR, or Incident Detection and Response. Incident Detection and Response is a service that provides 24/7 incident detection and management, where we work with you to onboard production workloads that our teams monitor 24 hours a day. Those teams then, if any kind of incident occurs, they proactively create high severity cases for you. They create a call bridge. You have a dedicated incident management engineer who will work with you to bring in expert resources to bring those workloads back online. And they will continue with you through the entire outage until you are back in a green running state. And they also provide after action reports and the ability to better understand how improvements could be made to your infrastructure and to those workloads as well. So I'd like to cover a quick customer success story. Tyler Technologies is a provider of integrated software and technology services in the public sector. They ran into an issue where their on-premise existing DR solution was reaching a tipping point where it was difficult for them to keep up with service level agreements for their clients. They were seeing a recovery requirement of less than 4 hours, and their on-premise DR solution was just not capable of keeping up with that. Uh, so in addition to the DR issue and a larger goal to migrate onto AWS with certain workloads, they reached out to us. They engaged with their TAM, the Elastic Disaster Recovery Service team, professional services, folks from our resilience teams, and together worked with us to review their DR requirements, what their RPO and RTO requirements were, and those teams were able to design a DR solution making use of Elastic Disaster Recovery. They were able to map the applications and networks and build and test a DR runbook. All that worked together, and once they deployed Elastic Disaster Recovery, they were able to bring their recovery time objective from 4 hours down to within 20 minutes, which was a 12-time improvement. And they were also able to achieve a recovery point objective or acceptable data loss objective of not minutes, but seconds. So they were able to achieve that through that review with us and saw a huge benefit from going through that resilience engagement. So what are we asking from you as customers? We really want to assist you with improving your resilience on your workloads. For a call to action, we really request that you meet with your TAM, work with them with that spreadsheet we showed during this presentation to identify your critical workloads, document them. That will help your TAM and your account team be more in line with understanding what is critical to you. And then right now, free of charge, your first 3 applications can be put into Resilience Hub free for 6 months. After 6 months, Resilience Hub is $15 per application per month, and it is only for pay for what you use. So you are only charged for applications that have been input and an assessment has been run against them. And if you delete that application out of Resilience Hub, it will stop charging. So please make use of that and bring those results forward to work with your TAM to initiate a proactive resilience engagement like we've talked about before, whether that's a tabletop like Scram or a deep dive subject matter expert led like Dr. Pet or RA2. And if you are interested in incident disaster or incident detection and or recovery, you can talk to your TAM about that. He can or she can bring you in line with our business development team to give you more details on that program. And then here, our AWS SMEs are also available through your TAM to help you identify any further risks, help you assess your workloads, and then continue with improving on your resilience journey. That brings us to the end of our presentation. I've got some quick reference links here. QR codes will take you to resources on Resilience Hub, the fault injection service, as well as business continuity best practices. And this will take you to our survey.